Oh yeah. We're gonna get dirty. We're gonna get busy. We're gonna have some fun with The Food Fight Siesta, a tale about La Tomatina by Tracy Kyle and Ana Gomez. This is a fun book, and again, it set me on this path of learning and this path of research, and I'm absolutely excited. It is the new year, so feliz, prospero el año nuevo, prospero el año nuevo. So happy new year, have a great new year, January 1st, 2019, and we're bringing you Food Fight Fiesta. This is the world's biggest food fight, and I'm gonna hold off a little bit before I hit record, before I really dive into it. But a quick reminder that if you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/Charlie Spaniard, or on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard, I would also encourage you to subscribe to the Spaniard Show on iTunes or whatever podcast app you use, so you'll have every episode. Remember, the whole point of this show, the Spaniard Show, World's Toughest Lifelong Learner, is to teach and inspire lifelong learning. So if you subscribe to the Spaniard Show to your mobile, to your cell phone, you're going to have AMX Books, which is short daily episodes based on the books I read. AMXkids, what you're watching or listening to right now. AMX Talks, which come out on Thursdays, which are interviews and conversations, and also AMX Weekly, which are the weekly learning recaps. So again, the whole point of this, everything we're creating, is to teach and inspire lifelong learning. That's it. I love lifelong learning. It does wonders, or it helps me in my life in so many different ways. And this idea of a growth mindset, continuous learning, always growing, always evolving, always asking questions, always enhancing your curiosity, to me is one of the most valuable things that you and I can do as human beings. So this, just hold on. Let's get started. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Spaniard Show. This is another episode of AMXkids. You can hear or see the smile on my face. This is a fun one. This is a Food Fight Fiesta. We're going to talk about the world's biggest food fight, and I'm going to dive into that in a second. But a quick reminder, you can catch the Spaniard Show, the show that is created, whose mission is to teach and inspire lifelong learning, by way of YouTube at youtube.com/Charlie Spaniard, Facebook, where I live stream at facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard, or you can search out the Spaniard Show on iTunes or whatever podcast app you use. There's 7 episodes created weekly, all based around books and conversations and ongoing continuous learning and curiosity. So be sure to subscribe across all platforms. So let's dive into La Tomatina, tale, Food Fight Fiesta, a tale about La Tomatina. And this is a book by Tracy Kyle and Ana Gomez. So my wife got me this book for Christmas, and she got me it as a book for our kids because I'm teaching my kids Spanish. I absolutely love Spanish, but I remember there was one day, there were about 3 years that I was a junior and senior high Spanish teacher. And I taught Spanish in the relatively small town of Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. And it was a daily struggle to encourage the young kids in my class. This is a beautiful thing, right? El Español, Spanish, the language, the culture. There's 20 plus Spanish-speaking countries in the world. It's becoming more and more popular. But I was still met with, and I would imagine if I were still teaching, I would still be met with it today. This kind of like, meh, whatever. Doesn't apply to me. But I'm going to give you some reasons. I don't want to say it should apply to you, but there's so much goodness in the Spanish language and Hispanic or Spanish-speaking countries and cultures that is so good. And I want to tell you some of them. The ones that I would say to you, youngsters listening, and perhaps your parents who are listening who might want to take an awesome vacation, these are some of the most enticing reasons that you should care about this book and care about the country of Spain and other Latin America, South America, all of these other Spanish-speaking countries and traditions. What we're talking about today is in Spain. So if it's Spanish, it's from the country of Spain, which is over in Europe on the Iberian Peninsula, shares with Portugal. That's the region we're talking about now. Why should you care about Spain and some of Spain's traditions? Well, one, because it's fun. Right? I like to have fun. To me, it might sound odd to you, but to me, reading books, taking notes, and teaching what I learned, that's fun to me. Wrestling, I don't know if wrestling's fun or not. I loved wrestling. I loved fighting. These are things that I enjoy and appreciate. I enjoy and appreciate Spain on that level. Okay, so Why? One, why should you care? Because it's super fun. They like to have fun. They like to go out with friends. They like to socialize. They like to hang out with each other. They like to spend time together. They like to do fun things. There's not always, but there's a lot of music that goes on. There's a lot of festivities, a lot of parties, a lot of get-togethers, a lot of holidays, a lot of traditions. So it's fun, right? You like to have fun. I like to have fun. That's reason number one. Number two, me encanta comer. A mí me encanta la comida. I love to eat and I love food. That's another reason you might care to learn about Spain and its language and culture and traditions and foods, because there's plenty of it. Delicious foods. And when you combine the active lifestyle and the delicious foods, you have an overall healthy and satisfying well-being, right? So there's food, delicious food. One of those foods, one of their staple foods I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. Oh, the beautiful beaches. The beautiful beaches. That's another reason. If you, on summer vacation, if you find yourself going to the beach and you think, wow, I really love this beach, consider learning about the beaches in España. There's so many different beaches in different regions. The ones that I've been to is an island called Mallorca. Mallorca is in Las Islas Baleares, which is the Balearic Islands to the southeast of Spain. There's a chain of 3 islands, Mallorca, Menorca, Ibiza. And when you get older, if you want to go to a party, supposedly Ibiza has some of the best parties out there. But Mallorca is where my friend, an exchange student who stayed with me, Luis, quien me ha enseñado mucho en la vida, who's taught me so much Spanish, lives on this beautiful island of Mallorca. So if you find yourself liking paradise, if paradise to you is something that you think, oh, I'd like to go to paradise, consider going to Spain for the beaches. Mallorca is a beautiful island. There's also a community, a province of Spain called Cádiz. It's in the south, I believe the southwestern tip of Spain. Beautiful as well. There's a beautiful beach town called Marbella, Marbella, home to the rich and famous. Look up that name. Do some Googling there, do some research. Another beautiful place that I was fortunate enough to be at. So we have the fun. They like to have lots of fun. They have great, delicious food that they like to eat often. Beautiful beaches. How about this? Nice people. Nice people. Have you ever walked down the street and thought to yourself, I wish more people would smile at me. I wish people would talk to me more. You just want to have a nice conversation with people. Well, in Spain, my interactions, and I've been to Spain multiple times for long periods of time, it's been favorably, ginormously positive. Just nice people. Some of these people I met 15, 20 years ago, I might talk but once every 2 or 3 or 4 years, and they're so kind and they're so fun, and there's a community and a connection. These are my experiences from Spain. There's a community and a connection that exists there that is extra special and is extra feely good like. And then the last thing I wrote down here is, so if you're like me, you enjoy being with family and friends, you enjoy eating some good food, guess what else I love to do? Yes, I love training. I love wrestling. I love professional fighting. I love jiu-jitsu. I love all this running and climbing hills and adventure races and Spartan races. Guess what else I like to do? I like to sleep. I like to sleep and I like to relax. And that's another really, really cool thing about Spain is they love to relax. It's just an overall good feeling, a good energy that's in Spain, again, from my personal experiences. And they like to rest. They like to sit around and talk. There's even a custom in Spain that's in time, I would say, and this is from my inquiries, in time it's becoming a little bit less and less traditional, is that of the siesta, where you eat lunch and then you take a nap. All right, it's changing. The culture is changing. I haven't been there in a couple years, but it is changing little, poco a poco. Está cambiando. It's changing little by little, but they do value and appreciate rest. So there's so many different reasons. Let's dive into today's book, which is called Food Fight Fiesta, a tale about La Tomatina. In my notes here, I have the world's biggest food fight. The world's biggest food fight. Who doesn't love a food fight? Well, technically, I don't even think I've never been in a food fight. But it's one of those things that if you're in school, don't start a food fight. Certainly do not start a food fight in the name of La Tomatina. Don't say, I listen to AMXkids 27 and this guy, Spaniard, was talking about Food Fight Fiesta and said food fights are cool. I'm not saying food fights are cool. But here is a legal, sanctioned food fight in España in the town of Buñol. Now, I want to point out quickly, the last several AMXkids, I've been doing kids books. And it's I want to say forced me to do some research on my own, meaning that I've had to really dive into the internet in these books to do some research. So it's taught me, some reminders about doing research. The information that I'm presenting in today's show is coming from my personal recollections and experiences, as well as Wikipedia, as well as a website, latomatinatours.com, and the book Food Fight Fiesta. Now, it's interesting about Wikipedia. When I was a kid, Wikipedia was like, you don't go to Wikipedia for research. But over the years, I feel like, I'm very confident, that Wikipedia has really upped its game in terms of valuable, valid research. So that's where these sources are coming from. Let's learn a little bit about La Tomatina, which is the world's biggest food fight. The origin is unknown, but we do know that it started in 1945 in the town of Buñol. Now, Buñol is in the province or the community of Valencia, which is in eastern Spain along the coast. Here's an interesting thing about Spain. Does it have states? How does it up? What is it? We hear of different cities, Madrid, Barcelona, but how is it organized? And it is organized in provinces, or another word I've heard for it is called comunidades. So provincias or comunidades. So more or less they're states, and there's 17 of them in the country of Spain. Valencia is one of those communities or provinces, and Buñol, which is a town, is located within Valencia. That is where the world's biggest food fight takes place, and it takes place on the last Wednesday of August. So the last Wednesday of August every year. And another tradition that takes place in Spain as well is the running of the bulls. And the running of the bulls is in the summertime as well. I believe it's in July. I believe it's the first week of July, maybe July 6th or 7th. So there's, again, we talk about fun, we talk about fiestas, we talk about parties and parades and celebrations. There's two of them off the top of my head that happen in the summertime. So it's the last Wednesday of August every year, started in 1945, and there's over 100 tons of tomatoes used. 100 tons. So a ton is 2,000 pounds. So 100 times 2,000 is a number that has a 2 and a bunch of zeros. I don't have a calculator. I'm not going to take time to think real quick. But it's a lot of stinking tomatoes. Let's just leave it at that. It's a lot of tomatoes. So the town of Buñol, the population goes from 9,000, generally there's 9,000 people in Buñol, to 20,000 people during La Tomatina, during this week of fiesta and celebrations. In my research, I read that it used to be upwards of 40 to 50,000 people would come to the town of Buñol, which normally hosts or is home to 9,000. So it would go from 9,000 to 40 or 50,000 plus. And in recent years, in 2013, they decided to set limits and sell tickets. I would guess it's because of safety concerns. More and more people kept coming. So you do have to get a ticket to go to the Tomatina. And as I kind of mentioned before, it's a week-long fiesta, basically a week-long party. But there's also parades, musicians, fireworks, and also a cooking contest. So earlier I alluded to the delicious food. One of the staple, I would probably say the staple food of Spain is called paella. Paella, P-A-E-L-L-A. Now there's different types of paella, but the norm, I would say the constant in all of the types of paella is a saffron rice. So a yellowish rice. Saffron is a spice. Azafrán, arroz, azafrán. So saffron rice mixed in with, could be vegetables and a meat. In this instance, because we're by the coast, I would say the traditional paella is seafood, but there's all kinds of different, they have langostinos, which are like big crayfish or very small lobsters. Langostinos son buenísimos. They're so good. They have vegetables, different types of meat, but there's also a paella cooking contest. So if you're in, well, I guess regardless of what country you're in, if you're in the States, I would look for a traditional Spanish restaurant and explore paella. I absolutely love it. My wife loves it. We took our honeymoon in Spain 6 years ago, and we had the opportunity to, I've eaten paella every time I've gone there, but she had the opportunity to try it for the first time, and she very much liked it as well. But I'd highly encourage, that's one of the delicious foods that you'll appreciate in España. I'll also say the ice cream is delicious. I think it is different because I think their milk is different. I think they prepare their milk and keep their milk differently. So I think it adds to it, maybe their cream. Anyway, the vainilla, I was a sucker for vanilla ice cream cones in España. So good. And then the last thing I'm going to throw out here is a pretty neat fact that the buildings are covered in plastic. So this is the world's biggest food fight. Imagine a food fight at your dinner table. Gracie and Rocky, my kids, no food fighting at our table. Or in your school, remember, No food fights in your school. But this is a prepared food fight. This is the world's biggest food fight. This is La Tomatina. This is a food fight fiesta. People come from all over the world to take part in this food fight. They actually cover the buildings in plastic prior to the food fight. So it's like an organized, how fun's that? It's like an organized, hey, you want to have a food fight? Yeah, okay, let's prep. Let's get a bunch of tomatoes. Let's have some fun and have a food fight. But they actually cover the buildings in plastic to help minimize the mess. But then it also said this, I got this off of, I believe it was Wikipedia. It said the citric acid in the tomatoes actually helps when they do clean the streets and the buildings. It helps to get them extra clean. So I guess the citric acid erodes some of the dirtiness of the buildings in the streets, etc. So that it comes out extra clean. Even a better reason to take part in this food fight. Now, this was a really cool part. When I started to prep for this lesson, this episode today, I didn't know which direction I was going to take it. So I got some really cool research that I just shared above. And then there's also some rules or tips of the game, right? Some rules of the game. As I said, this is organized. This is, I would use the word sanctioned. You know, it's the town or the city or the state. There's security involved. There's cleanup crews. It's organized. It's structured, etc. It's not just a crazy free-for-all. But there's rules and tips to follow. And I thought it'd be really neat to point some of these out. So one of the rules is that you must crush the tomatoes before throwing, because you know that guy or that girl that would take a cheap shot and try to hit you in the noggin with the full tomato, and guess what? Going at high speed, that would really hurt. So one of the rules is you must crush the tomatoes before you throw them. Another one is you can't rip or grab clothing. I don't know. It's like it's kind of like, I used to be a professional fighter. And people think that fighting is no rules, chaos, anarchy, etc. No, there's rules to the game. Sounds odd, but there are rules to a professional fight. It's a fight, yes, but there are rules. And it's a food fight, but yes, there are rules. One of those rules being you can't rip or grab clothing. Another tip is that I found you have to, and I found you should, wear goggles. Now, one of the things on the website that I mentioned before, it talked about the idea of the acid in tomatoes burning, right? So that could burn and protect your eyes. The goggles would protect your eyes. Also, could you imagine if you've ever been paintballing, you know that catching a paintball, you have to wear goggles. And one of the biggest rules when you go paintballing, because those guns are shooting paintballs really fast, one of the biggest rules in paintballing is no matter what, you do not lift your goggles, right? Maybe you get paint on your goggles, you try to clean them off. Like rule numero uno in paintballing is do not lift your goggles, because if you got shot in the eye with a paintball, you're probably going to lose your eye, at least suffer some sort of damage. Imagine a tomato coming at you. You know, I'm guessing I could pitch a tomato, I don't know, 60 miles per hour, something like that. Imagine a 60-mile-per-hour tomato coming straight to the noggin. So that's why we got to, 1, break them up, and 2, we're advised to wear goggles. Can't throw bottles or hard objects. You know, that sounds like common sense, doesn't it? But the fact that you have to put that there, this is, you know, the La Tomatina, it's a celebration. It's a chance to have fun, but there's got to be rules to having fun. You can't be the guy that's sitting over there thinking, I'm going to hurt some people. You know, the meanie or the person who just wants to hurt someone else. It's not cool. You know, we're here to have fun. We're at the Tomatina to have fun. No throwing of bottles or hard objects. I think this is a really kind of neat, as I'm talking here, kind of a neat sub-lesson here. The idea of this togetherness, looking out for everybody. Hey, hey everybody, we're here to have fun. Let's set some rules in place so we can all celebrate, have fun, and not get hurt, not hurt each other. And one of those rules is you can't throw bottles or hard objects. And another cool rule that I found is you have to stop throwing at a certain time. So it said at the second warning firework. So it's just it really is, I mean, an organized food fight. It's kind of, it reminds me of professional fighting. Like, fighting is kind of crazy. As a professional fighter, they say go and they say stop and you follow the rules. Same thing with a food fight, which is a fight, kind of, where they say, okay, ready, here are the rules, go. And when we say stop, you stop. And then people stop and then they clean up. They have cleanup crews. Obviously, they got to take down the plastic from the buildings. But it's a really neat kind of coming together of people to have some fun. And so as I was wrapping up the research in the prep for today's episode, I came onto another website that says this. There's a kids' Tomatina. It's called the Tomatina Infantil. La Tomatina Infantil. So this is called La Tomatina, the big one. The kids tomatina is called La Tomatina Infantil. Okay, so infantil comes from means kids, but it comes from the word infant, infantil, infant. But there's a kid's tomatina. And this tomatina, the real one is on the last Wednesday of August. This one is on the last Saturday of August. So it's for kids from ages 4 to 14. So all of you youngsters listening, or your parents who are listening, who want to have some fun, who are planning a vacation in the future, go to Google, type in La Tomatina or La Tomatina Infantil, Kids Tomatina, and maybe there's your next family vacation. Book your trips, my friends. And to wrap this up, so I've never been to La Tomatina, but I was at a thing in Harrisburg, PA, called the Salsa Slide. My friend Dave Wagner, whom I worked with, whom I trained, he helped put on this fundraiser. And what they did was they put this big vat, right, this big pool of salsa, I think it was actually sauce, at the bottom of this slide. And you had to go down and you had to slide into this thing and totally submerge yourself underneath. And it was one of the grodiest things that I've ever done. I'm reading the book, I'm looking at the pictures in Food Fight Fiesta book, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness gracious, that reminds me of the salsa slide, submerging myself totally in salsa. I think it was spaghetti sauce, to be honest. It was so grody. It was so grody, and it was cold outside. But anyway, that's as close as I got to the Tomatina and the Food Fight Fiesta. But I hope you appreciated this book, Food Fight Fiesta. I will have it updated on my website, charliespaniard.com/reading list, where you can get this book, support our friends and our authors, Tracy Kyle and Ana Gomez. And if you also get it by way of charliespaniard.com/reading list, you'll be supporting the Spaniard Show as well. And at the root of all this is supporting the idea of books and learning and continuous lifelong learning. Be sure to catch the Spaniard Show 7 days a week. You can subscribe on iTunes by searching out Spaniard Show. You can watch us on YouTube at youtube.com/CharlieSpaniard. On Facebook, live streaming at facebook.com/CharlieSpaniard. Connect on social media at Charlie Spaniard. Read a book, folks. Come back. New episodes of AMX Kids are released every Tuesday. Happy New Year, my friends. Feliz Año Nuevo. Y nos vemos el martes que viene. Ciao. So fun. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul, for your compliments, buddy. I appreciate you tuning in. Everyone else who will watch this on YouTube and or later on Facebook, I said it a few times. I'll say it one more time. Be sure to subscribe. That really helps. That really helps me out. That helps the show out. Dred and I are putting a lot of work into growing this show, and the more that you subscribe, interact, comment, share, tell a friend, leave a review, all of those things help us to grow in the name of lifelong learning by way of books, conversations, and asking questions. Have yourselves a happy rest of the new year. See you next Tuesday.